Does Martha be here?
Oh, 1, 2?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, then we have to share a link.
well, that's what he's gonna do once he's all done. Or once he's here. Okay.
Well, how about that?
It's fancy, pack the whole big room. Only a couple people.
Hi, we should be here. Martha should be online here, right here she is.
Yep.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Martha. What kind of sandwich would you like, Martha?
How would you like a knuckle sandwich, Mark?
I'm gonna give a fellow on that one.
Yeah, I get a knuckle sandwich.
Long time no see.
All right.
Hey, Martha.
Hey, how are you?
I think you're like the voice in the sky right now.
Yeah, Troy's parking right now, so he'll be in.
Oh, he's parking right now? Oh, good, good. So do we want to log in on this one? So we can have
I'm
it
trying to
on.
remember what I did last time. Are
Did we do
you?
that last time?
Yeah, I think so. I think we
Okay.
just did yours. Right? Because
Oh.
I also sent her like an individual Zoom invite, so I can do it through clients too.
Is that her the only one on Zoom?
I
Did
don't
you invite
know
anyone
if
else?
Nathan's gonna jump on. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
Good to see you. Yeah.
We're on like the monthly cadence now.
Wait, you said?
This is more like the fully monthly cadence now.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, how much do you do commercial?
I'm pretty new, so
Okay.
I'm working on restaurants with Mark.
Love it.
Yes. But other than that, like I help with some of the administration work, but
So I should
just
ask,
dipping my toes in the water.
relation, did we,
Third daughter.
third daughter, got
Yes.
it. Did you recruit her or did
Yeah.
you just watch them growing up and?
Both, yeah, I'm mainly residential though. So I do a lot of that and then,
She helps me out quite a bit.
yeah, started dipping
Really?
toes in the commercial
Yeah.
world.
Yeah,
So I got
Yeah.
her co-listing a couple restaurants with me.
Yeah.
If you ever peel off, it'll be Mark and daughters, right?
Right.
And what are the other two doing?
The oldest is licensed, but she's not active. The middle, I don't know if she's got any interest in it.
Oh, you guys are almost fully blown
Operation.
real estate family.
Right. I think we could get Sarah back in eventually,
Mhm.
hopefully.
Here.
Cool.
Martha, can you see that? Share screen? You're muted, Martha.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yes, I can see it, thank you.
Easy enough.
Okay. All right.
Cool. Why don't you guys grab food?
ton of big boxes being built today,
What's that?
a ton of warehouses being built.
Oh, I know, right? I feel like I just read in Columbus, not that it's like a huge jump, but I think I just read in Columbus Business First over the weekend that industrial went from like the 1.6% vacancy to like a 2.5% or something like that. So it's slowly starting to like even out just a little bit. Not a ton, but I think, you know, whoever they talked to, I think like they interviewed somebody from like JLL. And he was basically like, it's, you know, some wiggle room now, but. Yeah, it's
Amazon is
obviously,
repurposing their real estate.
what's that?
I think I read the article of COSTAR News today about Amazon.
Hey guys,
Yes. What's up, man?
oh my god, I feel so much better.
What's that?
I had COVID for 2 weeks,
Oh,
well, probably for a week.
um,
I just tested negative yesterday and I quarantined for 10 days.
so it's interesting, I was thinking about on the drive here about how like the first time I was ever supposed to come here.
Where did you got your mocha, whatever thing is on there?
If you guys wanna grab food, well, yeah, I just kind of guessed at the number, so I have food for like 6 or 7 here.
Perfect.
But, yeah, no, I was literally supposed to come here and like I got exposed to it, so.
So much better. Sleep close, that sounds good.
Man, freaking slammed.
Really? July is gonna be a little bit slower for us, but
Hey Tracy.
not for
So good to
a lot
see
of
you.
people. Depending
So
on
you and
what their
your mama have a
their
little
vacations and
plan
stuff
for
like that.
back to back or something?
She's about 3 days behind me and we weren't even around each other. It's just that contagious. I got it from one of my teammates in my office, so.
Thank you for bringing one.
Always. It's my pleasure. It's good for you guys to have me here.
Yeah.
Troy, when did you catch it?
I caught COVID on Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago. I was,
What were you doing?
I was exposed on a Tuesday before for my teammate. I took my team out to dinner. And then he called me and said, hey, I tested positive, my throat was scratchy, and we shook hands twice. And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
So why did I shake hands? So then I'm like,
Everybody
okay.
shake hands now.
So then after we
That's
did
what
that,
I
it was a couple days.
Yeah.
And then I tested positive on that Saturday. Friday, I was fine. I was like, great. But it's really 5 days that you was your incubation period. so.
Yeah. So here's a weird story. So you were walking out of the room, but like the first time I was supposed to come present to you guys, I got exposed to COVID because I was presenting CBRE, or you know, whatever brokerage, shall remain nameless, and one of the assistants had it, and she messaged me like the next day. It was like, hey, I just tested positive, and it was, you know, it was less than 24 hours later. So, anyways, the night that I did that presentation, I went and donated blood. And found out, you know, 12 hours later, like, oh, you know, you got exposed, like blah blah blah. So, you know, I tested. I remember I emailed you, and I was like, oh man, we gotta bump this. So I, you know, stayed at home, tested a couple different times. I was like, man, I donated blood like that. Like, you know, I don't know what the kind of the rules are. So one of the things the American Red Cross does now is they test you for like antibodies. So I remember I got on the app like a week later when my test came back, and my antibody concentration was so high that they used me for what's called a convalescent donation, which is like to help people who have it recover from it.
Really?
Yeah, and like I got it real bad in December. Bounced back okay, I, you know, had the shots and all that other stuff. So I'm gonna guess either my immune system was just in like hyper overdrive at that point or something like that. But so, you know, that was May, like probably end of May.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, you know, I don't know, but like I'm gonna guess that like that, you know, that'll stick around for a little bit, but we'll see. I mean, it was literally like, this is like December part 2 now, where everybody's getting it again, and
Wyatt had everything, my doctor threw everything at me. I took Paxlovid, which is an HIV medicine that was used to delay COVID or to shorten it.
Oh, you like big guns.
So I did, that was rough because it affects because if you're not positive of HIV, whatever, it goes right to your stomach and then gives you a metallic taste. So I did that for 5 days, and then I went and got a vitamin D shot and an immune booster. And so that was helpful too. I threw everything at it I could because I'm going on vacation on August 4th to the 18th to Cabo, and I am not gonna be sick.
Yeah, you don't want
So yesterday I tested negative, I was good. Now I feel like myself again.
to. Sweet. Well,
Yeah.
well, everybody's doing okay then, I guess. Anything you guys want to see in particular? I have a couple ideas, but you know, whatever's front of mind for you guys, we can always focus on it. Well, jump
So
in.
if we take a look at the industrial business right here in Central Ohio.
That, and then like, I have a hard time searching for just like restaurants. I mean, you can put the word in there, but you know, sometimes I even look for bars if they have, you know, a kitchen in them and that kind of thing. Because that's a tough one to search.
I've got a new lead. I need a 2,000 square feet restaurant in Hilliard. I'm sure Martha does too. We should.
I do too.
You guys all need restaurants in Hilliard, so, we talked about off-market stuff a little bit, that still applies, I can run through it again if you want to. But to do, let's see. I would say
We just go to
probably,
building, right? And then building type, secondary type.
yeah, so that's how I would tackle the search, so I would probably do like, I mean, you can type in Hilliard for sure, like, I'm just gonna go kind of broad. We'll do, so you gotta start in retail, that's part of it. And then you gotta go into,
I don't have my glasses.
sorry. And then, yeah, it's gonna be,
So we go to building, secondary type.
yep, so
existing,
builders,
active,
buildings, secondary type, and then,
retail property type, property size, we already have, and then secondary type.
restaurant and bar.
Yeah,
And then what was the square footage?
2,000.
Gonna be above, like,
Sure.
just minimum?
I put 1,800 to 2,400. Whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, somebody mentioned like kitchen and stuff like that, I mean, if it's a restaurant, like, it's probably already being here, but like, maybe just take a look at the amenities too, see what you have in there.
Question right there.
Yeah,
So when you put in the amenities kitchen, I don't know how you guys input the information in there. So if we put too specific, do we miss out the listing
I would-
where people don't really put everything in there anymore?
I wouldn't start, yeah, I mean, part of this is like just how you think through these searches, so like, I would not start too specific myself, like, I start big, go small, because it's good to know there's an amenities feature. If you're searching for restaurants, they're probably all gonna have a kitchen. Amenities are more like that little kitchenette you guys have right there, you know? So I would say like maybe you toggle it on and off, see if it makes a difference. It's probably not gonna make or break the search, but the way that our researchers kind of tackle these things is like, you know, they look at the public record. You know, when they call to update stuff, they're often looking more for like square footage, like price per square foot. Is it for sale? Who sold it? Who owns it? What's their contact information? It's not like, oh, is there a kitchen? How many freight elevators are? Like, there is some of that stuff, right? But, you know, in terms of like how deep you want to go, I would say maybe don't always
So
start.
square footage and location probably just be
Yeah,
that generic.
yeah, I would start there. But then also, I mean, even, so another point though too is like, you know, what do you guys consider a restaurant? Would you consider like a retail, you know, like a retail type slot in like a strip mall that could be retrofitted
Yep.
with a kitchen and some of that other stuff? So if you're, if you want specifically an existing restaurant or an existing bar and nightclub, that's when you highlight the secondary type. Otherwise, like maybe you start at retail and then see what that gets you. Because there's probably a lot of stuff that can be repurposed. I'm thinking of all of the like the random bars that have been, repurposed as, or the random, like offices or retail slots. that have
Well, the
been
reason
repurposed
we
as, like,
set that
bars.
way is it's expensive to build a kitchen in there. So we specifically looking for something with a kitchen so we can save the build out. That's
Okay, then, yeah. So yeah, I would say probably dancing on that line of like too specific, not too specific would be the restaurant and like, I would include bar and nightclub. I know that sometimes, I just wanna see if sometimes like the, SIC code would include like restaurants and eating spaces or like, eating and drinking places or like some really weird nomenclature. I don't think
How about ANCAP with a drive?
fast food maybe. How about what?
Oh, good luck with that.
You guys wanna hear something really weird? I was up in Michigan.
Big D.
Not super long ago, and they are turning all, you guys probably know this, but like they're turning all of like these old decommissioned Wendy's and Burger Kings and stuff into like dispensaries now. Like you into like medical, or not medical because I guess it's legal there, but like they're now making all of these old fast food restaurants dispensaries.
Perfect, they're freestanding, there's
Yeah.
no, they're not touching anyone else, they're probably not
Yeah.
by a school
I
necessarily.
drove past that and I'm just like, oh, like that is some, now commercial real estate, right? I'm like, that makes so much sense.
There's one right in the middle of Grandview, I was like, what? Crazy.
What are
So,
they turning them into?
dispensaries.
Oh, yeah.
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 I'm just trying to think of anything else that would like generally apply here. Those are probably the big ones. So that gets you everything, but I get your point too, like in terms of like expense to retrofit.
But if an agent doesn't put fast food in this link, then
yeah, so,
Not so much the agent, but what he said, more than the agent for that, it's more like they're researching
The
to go
research,
fight
yeah.
everywhere out there, so. My point is exactly like you, like, and like MLS, we have to be like mandatory, if you don't put that in, you cannot finish the listing, but I don't think they have such a setup.
I think there's some reciprocity in terms of like like when people put something on the net, like if they enter, even if it was a couple years ago or whatever, put it on the net, I think that like there are slots on there that like, is it a restaurant, is it this, is it that, and I think that kind of stays with the property information. I think that's where some of that comes from, but you're exactly right, like that's just kind of like in terms of like the way we approach it, I think that like we're looking for that big kind of like public record and sales data and stuff like that, and then like contact data before it's like the very specific amenities. But, I mean, in terms of like just looking from the outside, like they're also updating whether or not it's a restaurant, bar, nightclub. I mean, I would say the other thing you can also do is just do a quick perusal of, I mean, this is all retail, just 2,000 square feet and above, so you just kind of, just kind of do this scroll through and just see like, okay, that's, storefront retail, but it looks like that might actually be a restaurant already. Here's a skyline, so that's listed as like a fast food, but that could be a, made into a more traditional restaurant, I'd imagine. Some of these are gyms, so obviously not, but I would say like at least having access to like the visuals and pictures and stuff like that. Anything else on this? One of the things, we can talk about industrial too. One of the things, Martha, I'm gonna kind of finish real quick, that I wanted to show you guys that I just learned about that I think is super cool is our data. We talked about the CMBS data a little bit, but I want to talk about debt service coverage ratio because this is something that probably isn't, I wouldn't call it a new feature, but is super cool. And we just kind of learned how to maximize on this. So you can run this property search. So we're still in the properties tab. You can do a search. You can start with like off market if you want to do that. Again, Tracy, kind of to your point, keep it broad, at least off the bat. But so This particular search is actually looking at loan information and seeing who has a property that we would consider distressed from a debt service coverage ratio standpoint, or from like a watch list standpoint. So I'll show you what I mean on that. So under the filters, we're gonna go to loan, and then just hitting active loan status is going to tease out all of the properties that we have CMBS loan data on. So we have 888 properties. Couple of the searches you can do along with that, if you're looking for like eliminating properties that are coming out of a portfolio, you would just go like single collateral versus multiple. I leave this blank myself. Last time we talked about like pay status of like running a list of like things that are 30, 60, 90, delinquent, default, and in foreclosure. The problem is not a lot of folks are really getting to this point anymore. So, you know, in a snapshot, you can have all this stuff checked and do like an alert for it, which is super helpful. But, you know, one alert that might be worth setting is the watch list. So the way that we do the watch list is anybody who has like a major tenant in their building that occupies 60% or more and doesn't have a lease renewal on file would be listed as like a CMBS watch list, because they're distressed in the idea that they might have trouble, you know, like maintaining payments if like the tenant that occupies over half the building doesn't renew, right? We also look at folks who have taken out like a lot of additional COVID aid. I'm trying to pull up because the guy who kind of taught me how to do this sent me a link in terms of like everything we look at this for. So anybody who's on a watch list is going to be years of deferred maintenance, tenant leasing 60% of a building with lease coming up and no renewal on file, accepted COVID relief with low occupancy rate, etc. So these are like distressed properties that you guys, if you guys have like opportunistic buyers or something like that, you know, it's an option to do that there. So that's the current watch list. The other thing that I found out that I thought was really neat was looking at the debt service coverage ratio. So we were looking at those folks who have a DSCR of under 1.2 with, you know, even like an upcoming balloon maturity. So now this is the other way to kind of tease out like who might be distressed and figure out like, okay, who might be from like a debt service versus net operating income, who might actually be having a lot of trouble paying bills.
How up to date this information? So I would assume you pulled this from the loan origination date. Right?
Yeah, I think it's updated quarterly, or however often they submit an update, which I think is quarterly. I can confirm and let you know.
Quarterly, who update quarterly?
So whoever.
Your team.
Yeah, well, so my understanding of the way this works, whoever, you know, took out the CMBS loan has to submit like their financials every quarter.
Not really. I mean, the lender I work with, they ask like every year for an updated P&L or tax return, but not really quarterly.
Okay,
right?
then maybe, okay, then it might be.
Quarterly is if it's on a percentage lease, like in like a mall, I've seen.
Yeah.
Okay, you might be right. I guess like I thought that was quarterly, but yeah, I mean, every time we look at the financial data, so if we go into.
So how you guys can get access to those information? Because yeah, when a buyer get a loan, that information is public, but after that, every year is more internal auditing from the lender. So
Is there a certain type of commercial loan that has to be reported?
That's a CMBS loan, yeah, that's what, yeah, they report the CMBS loan, so I don't know if we purchase the data or just pull it in from like public record sources or whatever. I think we purchase it.
no, okay, that makes sense then, I guess.
So
I
like.
thought it's confidential for that, no?
Well, they're government loans, so they have to report them, right?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes, that's what it is, a government loan. So all we did, we just put in DSCRs of a max of 1.2. And then when you go into the property, so like we're always gonna have data on these guys because this is who, you know, like because these are all the active loans. But then you can go into the loan and see like, okay, NOI versus debt service. So again, it might be an owner that's, this property's not profitable for them, maybe maybe they'd be open to an offer, but like you also know, maybe you have some wiggle room in terms of like, you can negotiate, right? You could do more of a below market offer, play hardball a little bit, or however you like to approach it. Because right now their debt service is exceeding their NOI. And then, just a glimpse in financials, like I'm actually starting to use this right now to prospect like janitorial companies and things like that, because, we do have, data in terms of like their repair and maintenance and their janitorial. So Tracy, to your point, we're pulling the financials just once every year on this. So 2021, 2022.
That's updated enough anyway, so.
Yeah, so anyways, just a glance, you can kind of see some of the other expenses they're using, even like payroll benefits, like advertising, marketing, stuff like that. So if you guys have anybody who you might want to pitch LoopNet to, hey, that's you can kind of see what their advertising spend is right there. But
That's scary that you can actually pull everything.
Oh,
Oh,
well, think about
Yeah,
going to
first
Franklin
time I saw
County
it.
Auditor too, and you can see mortgage, you can
well,
see.
this is more of a
Yeah.
business though.
Yeah,
yeah, no, it is. First time I saw it, I was like, whoa.
I'm gonna go look and see if you actually saw
Who's
on
put
my
that-
properties. I don't want-
What's that?
Who's putting those numbers in?
I think it's just being imported directly from, wherever we're purchasing CMP estimates from. I don't think it's like manually entered. I think it's, like
Yeah,
they
it's-
report their financials as part of that like as part of the loan requirement.
Yeah.
And then either we purchase it, or if it's public, we pull that in and just import it.
But it's also interesting because different bank, they have different templates to demand the buyer to update. So, I mean, I don't know how it become a universal template for you to really directly from here. That's a lot of manually to really make the number go to the right spot, but.
Yeah, if you want me to figure out exactly how to do that.
No, I just want to make sure this is reliable, I guess.
Sure, no, yeah, I mean, in terms of like how it's manipulated, definitely above my pay grade, but I can try and figure out in terms of like formatting and stuff like that. I would guess like any, large originators, they probably have a couple formats they, use and share and things like that, but it's a valid question.
Yeah, this is impressive. You
Yeah.
can pull everything in here.
No, it's kind of scary though, like,
Yeah.
so, yeah, those are the two biggest things, like I just wanted to point out, because again, so if you're looking for, so for those of you who are, in the industrial space, and yeah, there's, inventory is tough to find, but like, is there inventory right now that is distressed that, maybe the owner would use more of the conversation? There's actually another way to approach this data as well. You can go back into here, and the other filter I recommend, so the other thing I would say, like, I'm still like, I just learned about this the other day, so like I'm still kind of like perfecting my training on this part. But when you do a maturity date of like the last 3 years, and then you can actually, so like, let's do the maturity date of like 3 years ago, but then you can also select a balloon maturity. So then that's where like, if a balloon maturity is coming due for somebody and they're not being profitable, they might be open to talking. The other way to run this though.
Well, so you're looking for balloon maturity in the past? We should look for any balloon maturity coming up, right?
Yeah, you know what? I think you're actually right. So I think that's why I'm saying I'm still kind of perfecting this piece of the training.
We're learning together.
Let's look at this in the next, okay, maybe it's that way. In the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You want to know when it's coming due.
When it's coming due. So, anybody that's, it's at least coming up, you can shorten that if you want, but again, like 3 years gives you a little bit more wiggle room in terms of like what's coming up. Now, the only other thing about this though is that it trims it down to like 30 properties. So, it starts to get really specific, and you start to have like kind of, less, if all 60 of you guys are calling on these same 30,
Oh, I just talked to your sister last week.
Yep, exactly. I talked to your third daughter, Mark, like. So, so anyways, that's kind of how I approach that one, but if we even check out, get rid of balloon maturity and maturity date, and then instead of actually looking at things with a high point of 1.2 DSCR, if we actually do like a 2.1 as the minimum, these are like your outperforming properties. So these are the 274 that are running profitable, and like you could maybe make an unsolicited offer above market rents or market asking rates, and the owner might be interested in it, right? So here's where you kind of go in again and look like NOI versus debt service, see what the ratio is, and a little more information kind of on the loan. And yeah, it's like, I think I told you guys I came from ADV, so a lot of my job was trying to, before I even picked up the phone, like having as much information as I could on that business that I could speak to make it sound like, like I at least had some insight, I'd done some research. So anyways, I thought that was super sweet, and it was something that was probably worth sharing with you guys, especially for knowing that a lot of you guys focus in niches that don't always have the most inventory. So like it's thinking about a different way to approach those owners.
And this is updated every year and it's reliable.
I believe so. Any other questions on this one? Cool. Let's switch gears to macro a little bit more, because I don't think we actually got this far. Do you guys ever get into the markets tab?
No.
Cool. So this is, I think, a pretty relevant piece of COSTAR, and it's super unutilized because not a lot of folks, just spend their time in here, especially from the brokerage world. But what's good about this is it gives you not just the ability to look at like Columbus, but you can benchmark similar markets. Like I was thinking like Charlotte is like the one that you tend to compare to Columbus a lot. But you can actually do some market comparisons as well. So let's see, Mark was there, Drew was there, and Todd was there, and Martha was at our last State of the Union, right? I missed anybody? You weren't there, I don't think.
I was there.
Were you? Yeah, okay. So Liz and Veronica are the ones that kind of manage this little spot of things. So this is, again, just kind of coming to the table with more data. So going to the markets tab, you can go in here and just look at the Columbus office market as a whole. Everything that our researchers track, all of the sales data, the inventory data, all that other stuff, the things that Veronica and Liz brought to the table to present on. All that stuff is being updated in real time. So ideally, you're being able to look at these KPIs just at a glance. But if you just want to get some insight for your clients or whomever, and just bring it to them to lead with a little bit more data in the discussion, you can go to this markets tab. So we're just looking at the Columbus office market right now. And if you guys want to see KPIs as it relates to only 5-star buildings, so only those class A, or only 4-star, or you can select class A and B buildings, you can select a couple of different options here. But they're going to give these, so Liz and Veronica, they write these every quarter. They give you a market summary in terms of what we're seeing in the in the market just for this past quarter. So demand for space in Columbus fell sharply negative after the onset of the pandemic. Vacancy up about 200 basis points. Recent trends of leasing activity point to continued improvement in demand, although the shift to hybrid remote work will still remain a drag. After a somewhat slow 2020 investment in the Columbus office market has returned to pre-crisis levels. So these are things that you can kind of rotate in terms of why is now a good time to invest in office or whatever, right? Talking points.
Is it really a right one?
What's that?
Is it really a right one yet? To invest in office?
Oh no, I mean no. No, but you can say it's pre-crisis, things have returned to pre-crisis levels, and if you want to pitch it that way, go for it.
It's a good time to buy it, look.
Yeah, good time to buy. So here's kind of your Columbus market versus like the national index where everything's trending. You can just hover over it and get kind of like the last like year-over-year change. And then here's where you can kind of look at like vacancy rate either over time or in terms of like what are our like what's kind of our one standard deviation. Like we know that it's gonna, you know, vacancy is gonna range from 6.6 to like 8.8 over the past like, you know, how like past I think it's 10 years. Yeah, and then kind of what our outliers are and where we're sitting right now. Annual rent growth, market rent per square feet, and then, you know, commentaries on leasing. And then here's kind of like net absorption, like what we're seeing the market doing. And then we forecast all this stuff over the next 5 years, looks like 5.5 years. We have net absorption, vacancy rates, daily vacancy, months to lease. I think this is always like something like this is even good too. If you have like a, you know, a hectic owner, you need to top down off the ledge or whatever, and just explaining like the timing, you know, the average months to lease. And you know, you hover over it, you see Columbus in orange, and then US is kind of a benchmark. Underneath that in the blue line. Any one of these you can just kind of jump into, zoom in, or you can, you know, use it as a screen grab or something like that. Leasing probability, some of this other stuff. But then as you continue to click down, you can get in terms of like just data on the construction. So like in terms of what is the current landscape for like the office market construction, who's building, who's developing, who are some, you know, the bigger companies that are contributing to the absorption, but also the construction. And then here's kind of what it looks like from a construction start standpoint. Deliveries, demolitions, under construction, sales, etc. You know, this is kind of more of a macro view on like on the CMBS loan data, but you can also go in here and see, you know, who are the major players in terms of like buyers, sellers, acquisitions, divestitures in the office market, which brokers have been the most active, you know, which type of buyers you guys are seeing enter the market, and obviously down here, it's you know, pointing back to Liz, the person who's really done this. You guys probably have a general pulse on what's going on in the Columbus market. Actually, let me just get out of this too, since I know you guys asked me about industrial. So from within here, what's kind of cool is you can actually, so you can compare these markets too. But so from within here, if you click it, the submarket tab, this is what I think is really interesting and unique is you can go in here and see, like, this is how we break down the different submarkets in the Columbus area for specifically industrial. Like office is gonna look a little bit different. Hospitality is, you know, there's only a handful, but like we have a lot of different industrial submarkets. We have a lot of different multifamily submarkets, a lot of different office. So you guys can, you know, you guys can click into any one of these individually actually, and get kind of that same narrative on like what's going on in just the Southeast Columbus industrial submarket. So I think Veronica is the one who does these. So I mean, you guys listen to how much information she really came to the table with, but this is, you know, part of that research is like just going through it in terms of like, is, you know, is Southeast Columbus a good area based on all these KPIs, right? What are the big factors that are influencing all of that stuff? And then from here,
That
you
is
can,
awesome. So when we have an investor, we can point them to where's the high demand and whatnot.
so yes, and one of my favorite features is going with the compare side. So being able to have the commentary is super helpful. Not only is like, here's everybody, but you can just be like, you know, somebody's looking, like everybody wants to know what's going on in Licking, but like maybe you got some folks who are, you know, they just want to know what their options are. So we're picking a handful of like, you know, general areas around downtown, Grandview, Dublin. Okay. So we don't care about Madison, we don't care about Delaware, North Central, all this other stuff. So we can hide the unselected here. And then asset value is going to look pretty inflated because, you know, like Southeast Columbus is Rick Bonker and all that other stuff. So like this is going to, you know, obviously be the most inflated. But if somebody's looking for like, what's an underutilized area? Oh, sorry. Wasn't undercapitalized area of Columbus for industrial. You can actually go down here and look for I don't know, what has the most upcoming construction coming up right now? When this loads. Here's what just the different regions of Columbus have looked like from a construction standpoint, right? So, Licking's obviously building like crazy, but maybe we didn't know that Pickaway County is in a pretty high third place. Like it's Licking on its own, and then these two guys, and then they the rest are being left behind a little bit. So like maybe Pickaway's an area just in terms of like upcoming construction opportunities you might want to look
What's
into.
in takeaway that make it high?
Yeah. I wouldn't think it would be up there. Pickaway County, what's up there?
Circleville.
Which
Yeah.
why am I having trouble even placing Pickaway?
So,
South? How south?
like just
Circleville.
Franklin,
Oh yeah,
like Asheville, Circleville.
you know what? So
El Branch just opened a big warehouse in Commercial Point, but I mean, that's the only thing I can think of in Nashville right now.
let me see, hold on. Let me see if they actually wrote anything in here. What did I pick on? Construction?
Who are they? This is new construction, right?
Yeah,
Let's see.
large submarket relative to the national norm contains about 1,300 feeds. You can see here 1.4% has declined over the past year, but there's little room left for future tightening.
No name, no.
Absorption rents grew by.
I know, the city of Commercial Point, I listed a property there, so I just randomly read an article that the city have a expansion plan for the city, and that's one of the reasons Alfred come in with that big warehouse. So maybe there's something with the city.
Yeah, the
Plan.
distribution.
No
Yeah, I don't
reason.
know,
Wait, hold on, click on players. Next. Who are they?
But we don't have on markets as land, correct?
So we don't have because we were kind of part of that conversation. Yeah, we don't have like a market narrative on land. But there's some, like we talked a little bit about being able to do like a subset of analytics. Like I'm gonna look at all of the land sales over the past year and just click and like do that little like top right analytics button. Did you and Veronica ever connect? Did you guys ever talk? Okay.
You know what, she did send me something and I did send that to the client, so yeah, we did
Okay.
connect through email.
Through email. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not something like we don't necessarily like write narratives on land, but I mean, I set Troy up with Veronica, who kind of handles land by default since she's in the industrial world. And I think they talked a little bit. I know Martha and I were talking about land not too long ago too, so.
We should have to Google and see what this company do with that, that's it.
Yeah, so I think we talked about this a little bit, but we can also go into like, we can just go back into the homepage.
Oh,
And then we can look at these guys in
see who they are.
professionals. Because it's less about like, oh, what have they been? Did you see where they were from? I didn't look.
Don't think there was that.
California, it looks like.
So look at CD, they
Yeah,
everywhere.
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yeah.
Houston.
Yeah, I might want to look, because there might be a couple different like setups, but if you go into that properties tab, okay, so. Let's see, properties, transactions, okay, not much on this iteration, so I would say like maybe just kind of scroll through a couple of these guys,
Just Google them, there's some
And you-
article might come up.
and you can do that too, yeah. There we go, maybe that's it.
Dang.
So yeah, that's the best way to access the properties tab. So like market and sub-market and the professionals is probably the most underutilized. Also, if you guys are like looking at a property that's, you know, jumping out to you, you can click on that ownership, like you can click on the owner's name, and it's gonna take you to the kind of the newer, like the newer skin within the properties tab, but like it's gonna have the same information. So it's gonna have everything these guys own. And you can scroll through and kind of see like what they're doing. Or, you know, the other thing we talked about too is going into the hold on, take it back. Like I think we talked about this like very briefly, but if you go into like the sales tab and then just look at like who's been buying up all that property over the past, you know, like maybe call it 3 years. We can go. You guys can type in the county name if you want to. I'm just gonna quick radius, and then we can do industrial. Sold in the last maybe years. And then when we go to list, this is another way to look at like buyers and sellers. And you know, I was just talking to somebody too, like, who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody at the Northwestern Title thing about like Facebook having a data facility out in New Albany that like nobody knows about, and like Google also having it. Yeah, you're nodding your head. Like
Yeah.
Google has like this facility out there, nobody knows about it, you know?
I thought everybody knows.
I didn't know.
Oh,
It's in my backyard.
yeah,
really?
maybe because we live on that side of town, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you live in the area, like you're definitely gonna know. Yeah, so I mean, this is another way just kind of look at it. Like these guys are like, you know, it's looking at who's buying industrial specifically, but not who's buying land and then building for industrial. In that properties tab, you can kind of approach it the same way by looking at like that area and then just filtering by like proposed and under construction.
If I wanted that list, how do I download it? Export,
Or, sorry.
export to the right.
Yep, sorry, guess they moved it actually.
Report maybe?
So there, yeah, reports, it'll have it. Exports, if you want the raw data, you're probably gonna want to go to export. If you
Okay.
want it to look a little bit nicer,
Oh,
go
template.
to reports. So, if you want something to show to a client, reports, if, you know, again, raw data.
I want emails and phone numbers.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you can export it with all the phone numbers, the emails you can get, you just have to click in there. I think the idea is like, we're not spamming people.
You're talking, there's 12 billion, 11, 10, 6. Some of these guys are spending some money.
Yeah, they're super active. But this was,
The ones that are spending the most money, to go back one, are REITs.
yeah, you can actually filter out of that too, if you want to do that, in,
Equity funds.
yeah, you can actually filter out or filter into those if you want to do that. You can go to filters and then it's just, it's like ownership type.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, if they're
If you-
spending
yeah,
that kind of
if you-
money. I don't
If you care, if you don't care, whatever, it would just be, you know, like sale type, investment. or
So if I go to a
user.
REIT, how do I get a hold, who do I contact at a REIT that?
So go and click on them. This is what I was talking about, then go to contacts.
These are executives or,
It just depends. So
Whatever
actually,
you
here's
can get.
oh, right there.
kind of a funny story that I just found out as well. I'm learning all kinds of stuff, but this is actually synced up with our internal CRM. So like, as a REIT, as a COSTAR, like I also try to get these guys to buy COSTAR, right? So like, I'm putting this stuff in our CRM, that stuff flows over into here. And that's where a lot, not all, but a lot of this data comes from. Some of it is, you know, like the researchers are cross-checking it and stuff like that, but like, because we have a vested interest in making sure that these contact data is correct, like this is how I know that the data is typically pretty shored up. I actually like, every previous job I've ever had, I've always had problems with like current information in the CRM. This is probably the most accurate and current I've ever seen it. But yeah, so here's how you go in, you would just go into contacts and then VP Real Estate, and then you can click on email if you want to send them a note right from here, or phone number. Looks like we just have a corporate phone number, but there's a few people that have different phone numbers that you can call into as well.
New project.
Sorry, Elizabeth.
No, it's going to
Rose is going to drill.
We're making some phone calls.
Sorry, bro. Then this is kind of the other thing I mentioned, in terms of like seeing what, so like where we just were. This is the other kind of way to look at it is, so if you guys are kind of following the logic, it's like, I looked at sales. I looked at who bought up industrial properties and picked away over the last 3 years. I filtered by most, whoever's bought the most, and now I'm seeing what else they own. So that's just in terms of like how I kind of process the logic here. But again, this is kind of back to like, here's how you see what else they own. You know, and the flip side too, for those of you who are still looking for like inventory and things like that, who's been selling and like, are they interested in maybe like, might they offload more? Who knows? So everybody's only sold, okay, here we go. We all know Blackstone's been pretty active.
They all out now.
Yeah, these guys are in Carroll.
Oh, yeah, that's one. That's a shame.
They own some stuff.
That's a shame we let people out
They
of
own a lot.
state own
Oh,
everything.
these guys own, but these guys own a lot of warehousing in Columbus, and they've sold a couple in the past few years. I don't know, I call them.
And they will look like they focus on warehouse.
Yeah, they very much do. They got 3+ pages.
Got 3 pages of properties.
Yeah.
We have some restaurant, we have some apartment. Happy Trail. Who is that?
Those are. Large to small.
Or they might have the address here, but they're actually a national company, who knows?
Yeah,
There you are, Columbus, yeah.
here's our owner. Here's probably your property contacts.
They all got the same number.
Look like husband and wife.
Yeah. Looks like we have different emails now. Thing. Which, yeah, we got at least unique emails for these guys.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that's probably another way I would look at that. Again, you can save these searches and you can enable alerts. So if you're, I'm not gonna say this for you, Mark, but like, you know, if it's like, I'm looking for just people, you know, just takeaway in general or whoever's buying up or whatever. You know, save the search, enable the alerts and try to, you know, capitalize on anything new that comes up. Anything else? I think we busted through a lot.
I think we did. Remind me our research person.
Veronica handles, or no, I'm sorry.
Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Yeah, I think you guys all probably have Lindsay. There's,
Lindsay
you know,
English, right?
Lindsay English,
Okay, I
yeah.
had 2 listings I need her to help me add, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys actually have a lot of data.
A lot of data, yeah. So if you ever want to come on board, let me know.
Okay, sure.
Anything else? We're at time. Cool, thank you guys. Do you guys
Thank
want
you.
to look ahead and do this again, or do you want to break for a little while, or how are we feeling?
I like meeting regularly because it reminds me, like, I totally forgot about that where you could go look up the owners and stuff.
Definitely. There's always like nooks and, I mean, I would say I've covered all of like the big stuff, but it's kind of like the nooks, not just like the nooks and crannies, but also like some of the new features, like DSCR, like that's been there. I didn't know about it. So anything I learn, I come up. So I mean, if you guys, maybe more of like a 6-week cadence. If that would work for you guys, I'm more than happy to just kind of look out again real quick.
Also, I think next time, I forgot to say this from we started, but next time when we do the Zoom, we might want to hit the recording button. So we
This
can
is
share.
recorded.
Is it?
Is it recorded automatically?
Mark like that.
Perfecto.
Sweet.
Because we gotta forget tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing is then when I go to do it myself, I'm like, oh hell, what was that? And somehow I missed a step when I wrote it down. Or-
Now you guys are gonna have a recording of me talking about going up to Michigan and seeing all of these marijuana dispensaries.
That's
You
what I
you have to say, just kidding.
Just kidding. I didn't go in any of them.
I did not go in any of them.
Oh, sorry, I didn't leave
Let's
that.
see what it is.
So from now on, we always should have Zoom, so we can record it.
That sounds like an A-OK solution for me. You guys wanna reconnect maybe the middle of September?
Hey, Martha, you hear that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Let me look at my September.
Do the 20th, same time, same place?
I can't do the 20th. I'll be at the Ohio Convention and then I leave actually, that's the day I leave to go to Italy. So, I could do like, that Wednesday before the 13th,
Which week?
the 13th.
The week, the 13th, that's a Tuesday?
Uh-huh.
About 6 weeks now, noon, March, like good stuff.
Yeah,
Cool.
Okay, let me get you guys in here.
the 13th, September 13th at noon. Right?
13th at noon in here.
I was wondering if it's gonna pop up with that.
All right.
All right, good deal.
Cool, thanks guys, thanks as always.
Thank you so much.
Anything you guys need, let me know. Stuff to look here for. We will be doing our next state of the market around that. So would love to see you guys out again, would like
You're
to
gonna
see
have like
you
another
do
function
that.
like you did last time?
Yeah, we're gonna do that quarterly now. So, the only thing I got in trouble for was she said I spent too much money on food, so you guys have not eaten enough.
Wait, don't talk so much.
That's it. Yeah, no, that was pretty neat. I got a lot of good feedback, so, I'll have data on it, but would like to see you guys on there. So,
Where is it?
couple you're missing. So our office is in 10 West Broad Street, which is the US Bank building, but we have a rooftop. So we make it really cool. And
I'll
we
send
do,
this recording out there. but-
And that's what day?
I don't know yet, or
Okay.
we haven't landed yet, so,
Okay.
but I just wanted to, formally
Yeah.
invite you guys again, and, as usual, if there's anybody who is interested in COSTAR, like, please invite them, because it's always good, advertising tool
You
for us.
probably do this job the best compared to all the rap that I met so
Oh, I
far.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
It's funny because I hear people say that, and the last dude was doing this for like 8 years now, and he came from like a training background.
I think most of them, like, do you have a question, but you actually go in there and mess around with the feature and tell us, hey, guys.
Yeah,
I
you guys
know
get to watch
some
me
people."
screw up in front of you, so that's no, I'm kidding. I really appreciate that.